Today, I will share with you 7 simple tactics that will help you to do damage at the beginning of the game. Tactic number 1 is going to be on Tundra. On this map, heal is very important, but it can be a one-way ticket if more enemies are going to overpush the hill. That's why I recommend you to take this sneaky position. Using it, not only you proxy spot the enemies on the hill, allowing your artillery or tank destroyers to connect shots, but also you can do damage yourself once the enemy are distracted. The most important part is that you can easily get out of here and repush the hill once the timing is right. What I like to do next is to distract my enemies and make it hard for them to play aggressive. In this battle, some of them decided to get rid of me, but I'm not going to give up that easily, and I'm just jumping back in the same position to repeat the process. And my favorite part about this position is that since I'm playing on my side of the hill, I'm always in the cover of my tank destroyers. Next, we are on fjords. Whenever I'm playing fast tank and I can cross here without getting shot by the enemies, I like to take this ramp. With this, we established vision control over the open area. This will make it much harder for enemies to make any kind of pressure without getting spotted. All we have to do now is to wait for our teammates to take A8 position. And from there, they will have great shots on these enemies down below that are getting constantly perma spotted. But as you can notice, there are quite a few shots landing around me, and I'm lucky they aren't hitting me. This means that there are enemies sitting behind the bushes trying to find shots, and with that we have to be very careful. One of the most common positions is going to be right here, where I'm trying to find my blind shots. So be very careful if you are playing with a tank that does not have much armor, but in case of AP IMX-30, I have turret armor and I can be a little bit more aggressive. But if I decide to play here with a light tank, most often than not, I will be picking only when enemy gets spotted and make mistakes. Peeking every 15-20 seconds is going to make it much harder for enemies to be constantly staring at you, and it can happen that they will completely ignore you. And in these moments, you want to strike and surprise them. Overall, this position is very strong, and it's hard to get rid of you for the enemies. I like to go here at the beginning of the game to get information, initial damage, spotting, and then later make calculated decisions based on the information. The third tactic is on steps in assault mode. Depending on the camo of your tank and amount of artillery in the game, you can decide whether you want to purely scout or combine it with doing damage yourself. In this game, I decided to purely spot. I have 2 tank destroyers in my platoon, which means a lot of firepower, and for that reason I decided not to reveal my position very early to the enemies. If I were to get spotted here, enemies would know that the cross is going to be dangerous, and maybe they would stop without progressing forward. But in this case, just in the first minute of the game, we already have over 3,000 assistants on this cross. This position is extremely valuable because not only you give information to your team how many of the enemies are crossing, but also you make it much easier to win this flank. And here is another example where I went with the same tank in the same position but decided to play more aggressive, because they only have one RT that has very long reload, and I've noticed that enemy doesn't have that many mediums who would potentially be pushing here. That's why I decided to open fire and do damage on the enemies that are passing by, because later on I want to push there and kill those guys to progress the game. And if you decide to open fire here, almost always you're going to be getting spotted. So make sure to use this rock as a cover and you should be fine. And now my favorite part. Since I know that it's only Minotauro and G-Sor playing on this flank, I want to go and kill this light tank to open up the flank for my team. And our decision to open fire on Gisor early in the game only made it much easier now to kill him. And because of our very aggressive play at the very beginning of the battle, it is now almost impossible for the enemies to recover. Let's jump on Erlenberg. Here, with the fast tanks and especially with the light tanks that have bad camo, and I'm thinking about Chinese, American or German lights, I like to start my game here. Not only I can give my team information on who is aggressively pushing the west of the map, but I'm also able to do damage myself. This position gets even more effective if you are playing in assault defense mode, because more of the enemies are getting closer spawn and they want to push aggressively to the castle. And sometimes I get out of this position with getting 1000 damage totally for free. Not only we have a decent start, but we also get an idea how the teams are playing. I also noticed that the east flank is totally open. Being aware of this, I want to go and spot it for my team. Tactic number 5 is going to be on Studzianki. Here I see a very common mistake where light tanks are trying to rush into the middle ditch, often dying in the process. Personally, I try to avoid unnecessary risk at the beginning of the battle. From my experience, most of the games are won at the end. That's why whenever I am playing with the light tanks or with the mediums that can use commander vision system especially, I like to start my game here. Since we are relatively close to the opposite building with the same bush, tanks that are bringing CVS in this position are going to outspot moving targets on the opposite side, often giving you a couple of shots totally for free. But the most important here is to have information, have an idea how many enemies are playing aggressive. And in this situation, you can see that we traded both of our ELCs. And if you have been watching my videos or streams, you know just how important light tanks are at the end of the battle. That's why I'm playing very patiently and waiting for enemies to make mistakes, giving more time for my team to make up their mind and possibly join the fight for the ditch. But if enemies will try to overwhelm us, we will always have the cover of the buildings to escape on the distance and take the fight on our own terms. And here is an example how commander vision system giving me one shot totally for free on moving T-54 who is trying to run away. And now that it's clear that we have an upper hand for the middle ditch, pay attention how I'm going for the middle ditch. I do push across, make sure I'm not getting spotted, and only then I'm dropping down. This is very safe. What I like to do next is to go here to possibly spot tank destroyers that love to camp on these hills. And if you were wondering if this tactic is going to work playing from the other side on Studzianki, the answer is yes. The next is more of a position than a tactic. I love to start my games here with the tanks that want to brawl in the city. It can be fast, heavy or medium tanks. This position is especially perfect for autoloaders like T-57 Heavy, IMX-50P or even IMX-13105 if you really love doing damage. I usually don't stay here for too long. This position is just to do damage at the beginning on crossing tanks. Once I see that there is no signs of anyone potentially making another mistake, I like to jump in the river and push the city. But little tip for you guys, stay close to the edge, not to drown in the deep waters. Our final tactic is going to be on fjords, where Western team has insane scouting advantage. The only light tank in this battle got spotted in the middle, and that's why I'm going so aggressive. At this moment of time, most of the enemies are trying to get in their positions, while my sniping tanks are ready to shoot already. So even getting spotted here is not that big of a problem because I'm in constant cover from my teammates. And here I decided not to shoot at a very fast enemy, EBR-90, not to alert him about my position. But seeing how he just started moving up for whatever reason, I decided to go forward. And this is the beauty of the terrain on Fjords. You can get extremely close to sniping enemy tank destroyers while being fully protected by your team. Two things here to watch out for. First is position where we spotted the EBR-90. If there is a tank, he's going to spot you. And second, sniping tank destroyers in the enemy base. This time I was lucky and it was only Centurion 7-1. But have been there FV4K5, I will be back into the garage. And if you ever have to go back to spot A-line for your team, I recommend you to take exactly the same route, picking left side of these ropes and using trees as protection. Have I picked on the right side of the rope, where the actual road is, I would be getting spotted by the Leopard, by the Char Futur 4, because there is an opening. And now I can use the safety of the trees to spot these enemies both for my team and for myself. My friends, if you would like to see more videos with tactics and positions, please let me know, and I will make more for you. All of the videos are recorded on my live streams, and if you would like to talk to me, come over to Twitch TV Ayuxin. I will be waiting for you there. Thank you for watching this video, and until the next time.